けてはダメ。その先には彼女が。
Spirit Camera doesn't tend to get a lot of respect amongst Fatal Frame fans, if people ever even remember that it exists in the first place. It's a side game on the 3DS that most people didn't bother to pick up upon release, or, for some, they didn't even realise that it exists. But it's definitely a worthy addition to the Fatal Frame universe, so this week we're going to take a look at Spirit Camera, The Cursed Memoir, a Fatal Frame side game you really should check out. The game was released in Japan on January 12, 2012, making it the first Fatal Frame release since Fatal Frame 4, which came out 4 years earlier. It's only available on the 3DS, which no doubt puts some players off, but it makes superb use of the system as a camera obscura, putting players closer to the action than ever before. It also comes with an AR notebook, which players search through and scan to proceed through the game, making the game directly interactive and about as real as Fatal Frame will ever get. The game was also released in English, with the European version coming with an option for the original Japanese voices alongside English subtitles, something the American version sadly lacked. Although Shibata wasn't involved in any large capacity in this game, it was still made by the usual Fatal Frame team, and it doesn't slouch on story either. The game sees you, the protagonist, drawn into the world of the cursed purple diary you've picked up. A spirit by the name of Maya helps you along the way as you try to figure out what's going on, what went wrong, and how you can get away from this horrifying woman in black who seems to have it out for everyone who comes into contact with the book. I have numerous videos on the story behind the game right here on this very channel, so I won't cover it in too much depth again. But if you're looking for a typical Fatal Frame story, involving an old village, a failed ritual, and some terrifying ghosts, then you will definitely find it here again. The game doesn't skimp on that aspect. What makes this game interesting, of course, is using the 3DS as an actual camera, something we've never been able to do in the Fatal Frame series before. You fight ghosts in your actual environment, meaning that if you play in your bedroom, you'll see ghosts in your bedroom. If you play in the lounge, you'll see ghosts in the lounge, etc, etc. This adds a neat level of immersion, and considering that this game came out 10 years ago, long before the likes of Pokemon Go and other such games, it was a somewhat unique experience at the time. Best of all, depending on how you want to look at it, the game isn't terribly long, and you can finish it in just a few hours, even quicker once you know what you're doing. There's some replayability in the fact that a second playthrough gives you extra notes, and, of course, the ability to put Maya in some different costumes, because it's not a Fatal Frame game without costumes. But that's not the only mode available either. In addition to story mode, there's also a photo ops and battles section, which allows you to battle against characters from the story mode, which in turn allows you to unlock even more outfits. A spirit camera mode that allows you to use your 3DS as a camera obscura and take all sorts of spirit photos. And a cursed pages mode that allows you to play through some mini-games involving the AR book and the 3DS's camera. All things considered, for a 3DS game, it's rather packed with things to do, although whether you'll find any fun in playing around with the spirit camera or some of the mini-games will depend on your tastes, of course. If you're only here for the story, then you'll get a few hours at best, so best to keep that in mind. There are certainly worse ways to spend a few hours, but again, it also depends on whether you already have a 3DS on hand and whether you're willing to shell out for a physical copy of the game. This is one of the rare games where you pretty much need a physical copy of both the game and the console, due to how the entire game is designed around physically moving the 3DS and interacting with another physical object through the camera. It's also interesting to note that there are a few changes to the game depending on which version you buy. As I mentioned earlier, the European version comes with both the original Japanese and the English dub, but the American version doesn't. But that's not where it ends. For example, one of Maya's unlockable costumes is different, depending on whether you get the Japanese version or a Western version. Something that certainly isn't uncommon when it comes to Fatal Frame games. Models of Mio and Mayu from the second game were also removed from the American version, and oddly, one of the characters' names was also changed in the American version. It remains the same in the European version, so I honestly have no idea why it was changed. And, as usual, the main character was aged up in the Western versions, changed from 15 in the Japanese version to 18 in the West. And finally, there's even a difference in the physical box. The Japanese and European versions feature holes inside, with eyes looking through, imitating the yokai Mokumokuren. For some reason, the US release didn't get this. Overall, the most changes were made to the US version, while the European one remained mostly intact, with only a small change here and there. Something to keep in mind. But, considering that the 3DS is also region-locked, you might not have much choice of which version to go for here, unless you also have a console from that same region. Overall, I don't think this is a bad addition to the Fatal Frame series. If I were to say anything bad about it, I guess it would be the length of the main story. But at the same time, as a 3DS side game, I understand why it's short as well. There's only so much content you can add when you're relying on a physical book to propel the game forward, and they were trying something that hadn't been done before. So, I get it. But yeah, it's a little short. Now, you're not missing a huge amount if you're a Fatal Frame fan and never play this game, but it is a unique experience that will put you in the driver's seat and closer to the action than ever before, and it really is a neat story to dig into as well. I think the Woman in Black's design is one of the coolest looking end bosses as well, although, in grand Fatal Frame tradition, fighting her with the 3DS truly is a pain in the butt. Easily my least favourite aspect of the whole experience. In general, I didn't find using the 3DS as a camera to be too cumbersome. It's definitely a bit fiddly with the book, especially in poor lighting, but once you figure it out, it's not that bad. But that end fight though, wow, don't even talk to me about it. Absolute nonsense. Had me very close to throwing my 3DS a few times, and on hard mode, forget it. But if you already have a 3DS and you come across a copy of the game, well, you could certainly find worse things to spend your money on. It's a worthy addition to any Fatal Frame fans collection, although its short length and sometimes horrible controls might be an annoyance to some. But what do you guys think? Have you played Spirit Camera before? How did you find it? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.